What are the 42 precepts of Maat? Capital M-A-apostrophe-A-T. The 42 precepts of Maat are a list of principles named after an ancient Egyptian goddess of truth, justice, and order. The precepts of Maat are found in inscriptions in tombs and on some papyrus records. Some critics of the Bible claim that the Ten Commandments were not original with Moses or with Moses' God, but were plagiarized from the 42 precepts of Maat. Neither logic nor history supports this claim. According to Egyptian religion, a dead person's soul is weighed against a feather on the scale of Maat. Only those whose hearts are free from evil are spared from judgment. As a way of proclaiming his purity, the dead person declares the 42 principles of Maat, each to a different sub-deity. These principles are not laws in any sense. They are simply declarations that the person has avoided certain behaviors. Each is phrased as a negative. For example, I have not swindled. I have not taken food from a child. Or I have not made anyone cry. Of course, there are similarities between some of the principles of Maat and the Ten Commandments. Any culture's moral code will overlap other moral codes to some extent. For instance, the Egyptian statements, I have not told lies, and I have not committed adultery, correspond with 2 of the Ten Commandments. However, this similarity by itself is not evidence that one inspired the other. With a list as long as the 42 precepts of Maat, there are bound to be parallels with other moral systems. The 42 precepts of Maat do not seem to have enjoyed widespread distribution in ancient Egypt, other than their presence on the walls of several tombs. There appear 1 or 2 written Egyptian works, but there is almost no historical documentation about how the ideas were used. Different lists and different places have different declarations, so there is no official list of Maat's principles. Further, in contrast to the precepts of Maat, the Ten Commandments are phrased as explicit rules, not suggestions. There is nothing optional about the Ten Commandments. Instead, they are very specific. You will not, and you will. There are no archaeological or cultural reasons to think that the principles of Maat were adopted into the law of Moses. Any suggestion that they were is pure speculation. The most common argument connecting the Mosaic law and the precepts of Maat relies on the fact that Maat worship predates Hebrew culture. Added to this is the fact that Moses was raised in Egypt. Therefore, the theory goes, Moses simply took what he had learned in Egypt and made up his own set of rules for the people he was leading. This reasoning suffers from a basic logical error known as post hoc, ergo propter hoc, meaning after this, therefore because of this. That is, it's illogical to claim that, given 2 pieces of literature, the latter must have been created from the former. What's more likely and more supported by the evidence is that much of Moses' writing was meant to counter Egyptian spiritual ideas, not to emulate them. It's not surprising that a long list of moral precepts, such as found in the precept of Maat, would agree with some of God's essential moral rules for mankind. In fact, an oft-repeated theme of Scripture is that people have a conscience, a witness to the presence of the law of God written on their hearts. See Romans 2, verses 14 and 15, which says, "For when Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do what the law requires, they are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the law. They show that the work of the law is written on their hearts, while their conscience also bears witness. And then Romans 1:18 through 22. "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them." Says that all people have enough evidence in nature and in their own hearts to respond to God, even though they choose not to. As the world drifts away from God and attempts to make its own moral standards, it's not surprising to see echoes of God's original natural morality. The supposed link between the 42 precepts at Maat and the 10 Commandments is not often claimed by actual historians. Connection between the two lists are tenuous, forced, and ultimately irrelevant to the question of whether Moses brought down from Sinai an actual message from God. The 42 Laws of Maat, M-A-A-T. The 42 Negative Confessions. 42 Laws of Maat, or 42 Negative Confessions, or 42 Admonition to Goddess Maat, or 42 Declarations of Innocence, or Admonitions of Maat, 42 Laws of Maat of Ancient Egypt, or the Laws of the Goddess Maat. Again, capital M-A-A-T. And they are: Number 1, I have not committed sin. Number 2, I have not committed robbery with violence. Number 3, I have not stolen. Number 4, I have not slain men or women. Number 5, I have not stolen food. 6, I have not swindled orphans. 7, I have not stolen from God or goddess. 8, I have not told lies. 9, I have not carried away food. 10, I have not cursed. 11, I have not closed my ears to truth. 12, I have not committed adultery. 13, I have not made anyone cry. 14, I have not felt sorrow without reason. 15, I have not assaulted anyone. 16, I am not deceitful. 17, I have not stolen anyone's land. 18, I have not been an eavesdropper. 19, I have not falsely accused anyone. 20, I have not been angry without reason. 21, I have not seduced anyone's wife. 22, I have not polluted myself. 23, I have not terrorized anyone. 24, I have not disobeyed the law. 25, I have not been exclusively angry. 26, I have not cursed God or goddess. 27, I have not behaved with violence. 28, I have not caused disruption of peace. 29, I have not acted hastily or without thought. 30, I have not overstepped my boundaries of concern. 31, I have not exaggerated my words when speaking. 32, I have not worked evil. 33, I have not used evil thoughts, words, or deeds. 34, I have not polluted the water. 35, I have not spoken angrily or arrogantly. 36, I have not cursed anyone in thought, word, or deeds. 37, I have not placed myself on a pedestal. 38, I have not stolen what belongs to God or goddess. 39, I have not stolen from or disrespected the deceased. 40, I have not taken food from a child. 41, I have not acted with insolence. 42, I have not destroyed property belonging to God or goddess. What are the 10 Commandments? The 10 Commandments, also known as the Decalogue, are 10 laws in the Bible that God gave to the nation of Israel shortly after the Exodus from Egypt. The Ten Commandments are essentially a summary of the 613 commandments contained in the Old Testament law. The first 4 commandments deal with our relationship with God. The last 6 commandments deal with our relationship with one another. The 10 commandments are recorded in the Bible in Exodus 20 verse 1 through 17 and Deuteronomy 5 verses 6 through 21 and are as follows. Number 1, you shall have no other gods before me. This command is against worshiping any god other than the one true God. All other gods are false gods. Number 2, you shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, punishing the children for the sin of the fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. This command is against making an idol, a visible representation of God. There is no image we can create that can accurately portray God. To make an idol to represent God is to worship a false God. Number 3, you shall not misuse the name of Yahweh your Elohim, for Yahweh will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. This is a command against taking the name of Yahweh in vain. We are not to treat Elohim's name lightly. We are to show reverence to Elohim by only mentioning him in respectful and honoring ways. Number 4, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, for the 7th is a Sabbath to Yahweh your Elohim. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the 7th day and made it holy. This is a command to set aside the Sabbath, Saturday, the last day of the week, as a day of rest dedicated to Yahuwah. Number 5, honor your father and mother so that you may live long in the land Yahuwah your Elohim has given you. This is a command to always treat one's parents with honor and respect. Number 6, you shall not murder. This is a command against the premeditated murder of another human being. Number 7, you shall not commit adultery. This is a command against having sexual relations with anyone other than one's spouse. Number 8, you shall not steal. This is a command against taking anything that is not one's own without the permission of the person to whom it belongs. Number 9, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. This is a command prohibiting testifying against another person falsely. It is essentially a command against lying. Number 10, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife or his manservant or maidservant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. This is a command against desiring anything that is not one's own. Coveting can lead to breaking one of the commandments listed above: murder, adultery, and theft. If it is wrong to do something, it is wrong to desire to do that same something. Many people mistakenly look at the 10 Commandments as a set of rules that, if followed, will guarantee entrance into heaven after death. In contrast, the purpose of the 10 Commandments is to force people to realize that they cannot perfectly obey the law. Romans 7 verses 7 through 11. What then shall we say, that the law is sin? By no means. Yet if it had not been for the law, I would not have known sin. For I would not have known what it is to covet if the law had not said, you shall not covet. And are therefore in need of Yahuwah's mercy and grace. Despite the claims of the rich young ruler in Matthew 19, and behold, a man came up to him, saying, Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life? No one can perfectly obey the 10 Commandments. Ecclesiastes 7 verse 20. Surely there is not a righteous man on earth who does who does good and never sins. The Ten Commandments demonstrate that we have all sinned. Romans 3 verse 23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of Elohim, and are therefore in need of Yahuwah's mercy and grace, available only through faith in Yahushua Mashiach, who is Jesus Christ.